You have seen me in front of you before, both in our physical sanctuary and in our virtual world that we have created. But this is the first time that I have been your worship leader. We are living in constantly changing times, and I would venture to guess that 6 months ago, nobody would have said, well, in 6 months, we won't be able to have services in our building. We will be working remotely, and there won't be Broadway. Our children will be moving home, and Dave will be preaching. And yet, here we are. Whether we worry about it, stress about it, plan for it or not, change is inevitable, and change causes stress. We are on a deployment, and I don't know how long this deployment will last. I do know that we are in this together, and each of us is part of this community. Each of us brings something different to the community that we will need and count on to help us get through this. I hope that what I bring to the table will help you in some way as we live today, move our horizons, and free our minds.
The chalice will now be lit in our new sanctuary. If you have your own chalice, please light it now too, and let us know that you've done so by
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Oh yeah, yeah.
let us now bear witness to the joys and sorrows experienced.
Now take a moment to sit more comfortably. Close your eyes if you wish. While you listen to Josie play, concentrate on your breathing as you breathe in through your nose and slowly breathe out through your mouth. As you breathe in deeply, your diaphragm is telling your mind that things are okay. Your mind is telling your body that things are okay. Your body is releasing hormones that relax you. You are okay. You are okay. You are okay.
Our reading for today is by Aram Mitchell. He's a registered Maine guide and wilderness first responder with a Master of Arts in Religious Studies from Chicago Theological Seminary. I have a muscular intimacy with my bathroom door. What I mean is that when I close the door, I sort of fling it shut behind me as I walk in. I realized the other day that the amount that I push the door is fine-tuned to the precise amount of push needed for the door to latch but not slam. If the window is open, the pressure in the room is different and the door shuts with much less push. I know this in my muscles. I know how to interact with the weight of the door, with the friction of the hinges, and with the pressure of the room. It's an instinctual muscular knowledge. With regular visits to the bathroom over time, I've gotten amazing at it. It's comfortable to experience this familiarity with my home, with what's required of me, because most of the rest of my life feels pretty off. The weight of the world right now is not familiar. The pressure in the room is unprecedented. It's hard to know what's required. For many, the abundance of stillness and spaciousness is disorienting. There's a new variety of overwhelm as, for some, the nature of work shifts and risk increase. Others are losing opportunities to work. The landscape of home is terra nova. The waves of uncertainty lap and recede, leaving blank the etchings of our plans previously drawn in the sand. I don't know how each of us ought to reorient our new shifting realities, but I'm confident in our human ability, our propensity, even to gradually, day by day, together, muscle our way into knowing and being in and renewing our world. Confidence means to be with faith. That's what I've got right now. Faith in the muscle of our collective spirit and a sturdy hope that we'll keep on figuring out how to put it to use.
So last year, my good friend Jerry, Pete, and I went to Scotland. When we came back, without having to quarantine, I was thinking that there might be a sermon about Scotch and humanity, and I was going to write that. But then COVID happened. And I don't want to say we're lucky that it happened, but I think you may like this sermon better than Scotch and humanity. As many of you know, I'm a firefighter with the FDNY. I'm actually a chief, but in my heart, I'm still a firefighter. My career has been divided into two parts, really, pre 9/11 and post 9/11. Today, I'm going to focus mostly on post 9/11 and some of the lessons that I've learned that may help some of us deal with our new COVID-19 world. I don't know if you're feeling it, but there seems to be an underlying societal stress as we try to figure out how to navigate the uncertainty that we are facing with COVID-19. I know that there are other contributing factors to that stress, and I don't want to diminish the impact of structural racism or dysfunctional leadership. But let's take one thing at a time as I talk about ways that mission critical teams have learned to deal with that underlying stress over the years. For the past 19 years, I've been an officer in the FDNY, and I've had the opportunity and privilege to study leadership and have conversation with some really amazing individuals. I've also had the opportunity to be deployed to wildland fires in Arizona and New Mexico, hurricanes in Texas, Louisiana, and here in New York, floods in Binghamton, and snowstorms in Buffalo. Those deployments were like an acute version of this chronic deployment we are on for COVID-19. The stress from the moment I was notified that I was going on deployment to the time I came home is very similar to the feeling we have right now. The uncertainty, the questions, the wondering if I was going to be okay. What were we going to do? How would I perform? When would it end? We didn't know anything except we were supposed to somehow make things better. Now, I know that COVID has affected each of you differently. Some of you had it. Some of you were even hospitalized with it. Some work on the front lines in healthcare, and some are retired and self-quarantining due to some underlying health conditions and understanding that you are at severe risk. Whatever your experience, I believe that the one thing we all have in common is that underlying stress that affects us every day and every hour. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neurobiologist, principal of the Huberman Institute and associate professor at Stanford University, has been studying these effects and based on his research and research of others, has come up with some ways to help mitigate some of the stress. Now, I'm not saying that we will eliminate all the stress, because some stress is a good thing, but that is a different discussion. According to Dr. Huberman, understanding the biological effects of long duration stress will allow us to take steps to mitigate some of it. This morning, I would like to share with you some things that I have learned over the years that have helped me. Some of these things were institutional, some were instinctive, and recently I've learned that some are scientifically proven and biological realities. First, make things as routine as you can. If you've ever been an actor or are an actor, then you know about the actor's nightmare. For those of you who aren't actors, this is when you have a dream, you are on stage, in your underwear, trying to remember your lines to a play you have never heard of. That's it. Well, firefighters have a similar nightmare, the firefighter's nightmare. You're running around the firehouse looking for your gear with a beard in your underwear while the fire truck is leaving quarters. The fear and stress of being unprepared, of having to think about all the things you need to do to be prepared. So one of the most basic things we can do to alleviate some of that anxiety is to make things routine. When I would go to work in the firehouse, I would do the same thing every time. Walk into the firehouse, I immediately got my gear, placed it by the fire truck, checked my mask, made sure my tools were where they were there, changed my clothes, etc. It was routine. It was automatic. Then, if an alarm came in, I was ready to go. Pre-COVID, when you would go to the grocery store, you would maybe grab a list and a grocery bag and go. Now, we need to make sure we have a mask, hand sanitizer in the car, list, bag, stay 6 feet away from everybody, walk in the right direction down the aisle, stand in the right place to check out, and all the time looking at other people, wondering if they are thinking the same things, and of course, worrying if there will be toilet paper. This all takes up space in our cognitive brain and causes additional stress because it's work. If you can move some of that thought process out of your cognitive brain and place it in your subconscious brain, then you can ease some stress and reserve the cognitive brain work for worrying about toilet paper, or just hoard some toilet paper so you don't have to think about that. Keep an extra mask in a car with some hand sanitizer, so if you forget to grab a mask, you know it's there. Just like we started keeping grocery bags in the car. Or always grab a mask. Grab the keys, grab a mask. Go outside, grab a mask. Go to work, grab a mask. Go to church, grab a mask. Make it automatic, make it routine, and stop thinking about it. Free your mind for the other things. The second thing we have learned is to move our horizons. I remember when Hurricane Gustav was heading into Louisiana, just 3 years after Katrina had devastated New Orleans. We were called to pre-deploy to Louisiana just in case. We didn't know what we would be doing. We didn't know where we would be staying. We didn't know where the hurricane would hit. We were just going. Our incident commander at the time kept telling us, let's just do this one thing for now, and we'll handle what comes up next when we get to it. This is called moving your horizons. The idea is just think about what you can actually see. Sometimes there is so much uncertainty that you can only think about getting through the day or breakfast. We don't know what the future of COVID will look like. We do know we are in phase 4 in New York. We know that restaurants can have 50% occupancy. They can have tables outside. You have to wear a mask to go to the grocery store, and you don't have to wear one when you're eating. Will we have another wave? I don't know. We have to quarantine if we go to New Jersey? I don't know. Will we ever get to have in-person services again? Probably. When? I don't know. What we do know is we have Zoom Sundays. I am here now, and our new minister is watching and listening. The other thing about moving your horizons is that whenever you get to those horizons, there is a biological reaction. According to Dr. Huberman, when you move those horizons and you get to them, your body gives you a shot of dopamine, which makes you feel good and gives you the energy and desire to work toward the next horizon. This past Wednesday, our incident management team was activated to help the city clean up after Tropical Storm Isaias. As one of the deputy incident commanders of the incident management team and the executive officer to the chief of operations, I knew I was going to be involved. I also knew that I had to finish this sermon and I had several other things that were on my agenda. But I couldn't say, sorry, I'm the worship leader this Sunday, so I can't help. So I moved my horizon to Thursday night and tried not to stress about when I would finish writing or how I was going to handle the other things on my schedule. For all of my deployments over the years, I would keep my horizons close initially, and as things became clearer, I could move them out. Certainly the days after 9/11, my horizons were very close, and sometimes too close. I'm not saying to ignore the future, but try to focus on the things you can actually get to. I'm reminded of this in the movie The Martian with Matt Damon. When his character finally gets back to Earth and he is talking to his students, he says, you just begin. You do the math, you solve one problem, then you solve the next, and if you solve enough problems, you get to come home. Third, embrace the change and differentiate what really affects you. I don't know if you know this, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't need to deny this. Things have changed. Life is different, and a lot of people have accepted this and have changed the way they live. We all wonder when we can get back to a movie or see a live show, but for now we can't. For now, this is the way it is. The sooner we accept this and get into the new routine, the quicker we can take these thought processes out of our cognitive brains and move them to our subconscious and de-stress. The other part of this is to identify the things that really affect you and don't get caught up with the things that don't. We don't have any young children in middle school or high school. I know some of you do, and that certainly is something you need to think about and address. I don't. I have other things to think about as a first responder and chief in the FDNY. I've been working pretty much since the beginning with some minor disruptions. I certainly understand the anxiety that any parent that has children in the school system are experiencing, but I can't devote energy to that issue. I cannot lose sleep about 100 people having a party in a quarantine state or 100,000 motorcyclists who decide it's a good idea to go to South Dakota. Is it a good idea? Nope. Can I change it? Nope. Remember, there are things that you can affect and things you can't. And in these times of increased stress, we need to differentiate those and consciously decide what we need to stress about and what we don't. When I was deployed to Arizona, I hate to say it, but I wasn't too concerned about how I was going to mow the lawn or what to cook for dinner. Finally, you have to find a way to laugh. Again, we go back to the biological reality. Laughter and humor release dopamine, and it is one of the easiest ways to de-stress. Find a movie, smile, tell a joke, whatever you can do to find a way to express or enjoy humor. A month or so ago, Kath and I watched Jerry Seinfeld's special, 23 Hours to Kill. We laughed so hard. I was in tears, I was laughing so hard. I don't know if it was that funny or if we just needed to laugh, but we did, and it felt so, so good. So why am I talking about this with you on Sunday morning during a Zoom Unitarian Universalist service? First, we are a community. We are a team, and everybody brings something different to the team or community. This is something that I bring to the team. In 10 days, I will celebrate my 30th anniversary with the New York City Fire Department. Over those years, I've learned to deal with adversity, and I hope that the skills that I've developed can help this community, this team, as we deal with this adversity. Second, let's look at a few of our principles, our 7 principles. Our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. According to the UUA website, it points us to a larger community. It gets at a collective responsibility. It reminds us that treating people as human beings is not something that we do one-to-one, but something that has systemic implications and can inform our entire cultural way of being. Our fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Again, from the UUA website, this privilege calls us not to be isolated and self-centered, believing that our single perspective trumps all others, but rather to be humble, to be open to the great mysteries of truth and meaning that life offers. Those mysteries may speak to us through our own intuition and experience, but also through tradition, community, conflict, nature, and relationships. And our 7th principle, the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Also from the UUA website, our 7th principle may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves, the interdependent web, expressed as the spirit of life, the ground of all being, the oneness of all existence, the community forming power, the process of life, the creative force, even God, can help us develop that social understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need. It is a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. So my hope is that with this little bit of knowledge, this understanding of the biological effects of this long duration COVID deployment, that what we can do on Monday morning, we can de-stress a bit, rise above our own personal battles, and try to set an example, be the beacon again of what good can look like, what compassion is, what caring and what community means to us at the UUCHV, and what it can mean for Westchester, for the Hudson Valley, for New York, for our country, and for the world. So tomorrow morning, I hope you can de-stress a bit, embrace the new world we live in, smell the roses, smile at a stranger, if only with your eyes, and remember that our principles emphasize the importance of community, and we have all felt the need to be with each other. Be safe, be healthy, and hug the ones you can. Blessed be. Our closing prayer is also from the words of Aram Mitchell. As we cross the threshold of each new day, may we find the strength in the confidence that we're moving together. May we rest assured that yesterday's unknown will be a little more familiar tomorrow. And may we remember that right now, we just have to live today. Now join us in singing our closing hymn, Fire of Commitment. The words will be shared on your screen.